we go and say good day to our buddy Frank Saravelli. Frankie boy.
Franklin.
Go
G'day.
Birds. Go Birds.
Go Birds. Hey, Rhett, you want to see you in New Orleans?
Should we do that?
I'm in if you're in.
I've never been. Can you show me around?
Unfortunately, I can.
Ooh. You guys should get one of those hotel rooms with bunk beds.
Nah, we just need one king.
No, no.
Yeah, all right.
That's true. Yeah.
Oh, baby.
We're not sleeping. I'm in, Frank. Let's do it.
Yeah,
I
I'm not
can't
sure
even
how-
imagine what kind of damage could Rhett do in a town like New Orleans.
Well, find out. Book your tickets before we know it's the Eagles and the Bills. It's only going to get more expensive, fellas. Now's the time.
I have a flight booked. I need a hotel.
A little presumptuous, maybe, Jinxie.
I've got some tickets,
You
and I've got a line on more tickets.
Ooh,
Brett, this is
all
your
right.
chance to go to the Super Bowl.
But
Yeah.
I need you to come through with a hotel room.
Okay, I'll get to work on it.
Is this like an issue in New Orleans? There's not enough hotels, or no? 'Cause
It's
they do have
usually
Super
not,
Bowls.
but I believe there's been some speculators.
Oh shoot!
Yeah.
Didn't know you could do that.
We'll figure it out, Frank.
Yeah.
You don't seem worried.
I'm not worried.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes. What's the worst that could happen? We don't get there.
It's more of the.
I've
refs.
wasted money on worse things, and
Well,
And
that
will again.
surprises no one on this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll again.
and I think the Bills are going to go into Kansas City and have a win. Chiefs D is good, but they're beatable.
Rhett,
What
are you-
about the
are you going to-
nonsense like roughing the passer calls?
Well, that I can't control. The refs
Yeah,
is
that's
out,
going to be tough.
always out to get us.
Or if Andrews just catches that ball yesterday.
Everyone in the world knew they were coming down to score that touchdown. Shocked that he
It's true.
dropped the 2-point conversion. My only thought was Allen's getting the ball back.
With like 90 seconds, yeah.
We just have to score. Give us
Just a field goal.
Yep.
Never a doubt is what you're saying. So you
I
just
did. I
feed up the whole
was
day?
more comfortable with that than trying to win it. I said it to Pinder than trying to win it when they were on the 3 or whatever it was, 4th and goal, or when they kicked that field goal. I'm like, kick the field goal. If they get the points and tie it up, at least Allen's going to have some time to try and charge on the. You weren't stopping Baltimore. Like
We
they
were
weren't.
joking, like let him score right away.
Yeah,
Like just
like-
don't even play defense the first play, and then at least Allen has some clock to work.
I
Wait,
don't
did you guys watch the game together?
never. We work together.
Bills
That's-
fans were in attendance.
So, okay, all right.
How was it in Philly?
Yeah,
I was soiling myself in the last drive.
Were you a little
Why?
bit
they
tight
had
for a
chance
while?
there. Would they
Yeah,
get down
look.
inside the 20?
They were up 13 or 15 with 4 minutes left. Like, come on, man. That should not be a thing. And you should not let them get down to the 15 after your kicker inexplicably missed 2 extra points that day. Like, it felt like it was all lining up for an absolute nut kick.
Yeah.
And yet, it didn't.
but yet here you both are
Here we are.
And there you'll be in 3 weeks.
on
in
the
New
worst for
Orleans.
wear.
Rhett, are you going to Jasper?
No, I don't play hockey.
He's back in town now, so he's going to help out with a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, he's actually
this
going to
year.
get off his ass and do something nice.
Jack like that one.
Yeah, you got Jack. Don't step on Jack's laughter. Where do you want to start, Frankie boy? There's some unlikely teams that are playing pretty well right now. I know the Wings and Jackets are 8-2. The Habs are 8-1-1, all in their last 10. Big win for the Habs the other night.
Rangers are actually rolling too. I was looking at that. They've been playing
Yep.
some good hockey.
Habs have a goalie from the looks of
Yeah.
things that isn't Sam Montembeault. There's a lot of things going on. It's when things happen in Montreal, it's hockey night in Canada and you win in overtime and everything's exciting. It's kind of a special spot, even though maybe some of us don't like to admit it.
Well, I think to be honest, we've missed it. Like, they've been grasping for relevancy now for a few years and haven't had any. And it's almost like the fan base as a whole has played the part really well, right? They've been super patient through this rebuild process. This town that, for decades, the answer was not when, will the Canadians make the playoffs? It was how deep will the run be? Will they win the Stanley Cup this year? And to go through a chunk of years, a decade or so, where even the playoff part has been in question and then not even in question, like we know the answer is no, it's definitely must be a bit of a strange vibe in Montreal. But when it's back, like it has been, and you start to see people believing again, it's a totally different feel. And I can just tell, looking at our website at Daily Faceoff, oh, wait, some of the most clicked on stories in the last few weeks have been Montreal Canadian stories. They're back.
Now this was Saturday, right? Was it? Because I have to admit there was a lot going on between
Hockey
kids
night.
and sport. It was hockey night. Rangers, Habs. That was Saturday. Anyway, this weekend, we'll get you caught up here with a look at overtime.
So dangerous for the Rangers. Panarin in front, shot. Oh, Dobish! What a stop! Absolutely unbelievable glove save in OT. Trocheck again drops it off. Fox, one-timer again. He pushes across. Dobish sensational at the Bell Center. Laine has the puck through center. He'll weave in. Gouli in. Gouli across. Score! He did it again. Patrick Laine, OT winner, and the Montreal Canadiens beat the Rangers 5-4.
The Laine story is awesome.
There's something about it. I don't European guys that go to Montreal and it feels like home. Looks like he hasn't in a long time. As Laine gets the winner, another big goal for them. Jacob Dobish, 5-0. I think it was. I thought I saw him. It was December 28th. He did his solo lap. Came out and knocked the pucks off the dash, and he's skating around by himself. The 28th. That's like 3 weeks ago. Now he's the toast of the town. You love sports towns where that kind of stuff means so much and matters.
Can you pronounce his name again? Because it was so good.
Dobish.
Dobish.
Dobish. We're all a little Dobish.
Dobish.
You know, December was a tough month. A lot of sweets. Got a little Dobish for sure. Trying to get better. Trying to get back on the bike. But anyway, so 8-1-1 in their last 10. After Kent Hughes comes. Oh, listen, we need you to stay the course.
Well, they were last in the league at some point in November.
Right?
It was like 30 seconds. And the question was like, geez, like I knew this was a process, but are they still that far away? And now they're one of the hottest teams in the league. And it's like, why not them for a wild card? Like you look,
I'm not buying it. I'm sorry. I
don't think
I
they'll
don't mean to
last.
rain
It's
on. I
fun
don't mean to
story.
sprinkle on anyone's parade today, but I give the Montreal Canadiens a single-digit % chance to make it.
So who do you have winning the wild card? Do you like Columbus's chances better?
No, I like the Rangers.
Yeah, me too.
They have one regulation loss in their last 10. If you're to take every team in the muck without even really thinking about it, who's the most talented team?
It's the Rangers by a mile.
Well, like they've got the goalie, they've got I think Columbus has been a fantastic story. And I think they could remain competitive and in the mix, but I'm just not. I think the Canadiens have had a great rebirth here and they've played themselves into being in the conversation. But if we're taking the long-term holistic view here of the Canadiens, they've still got some pieces to move at the deadline that I think they're going to have to take a long, hard look at, even if they're in the mix. What are you doing with Jake Evans? What are you doing with Mike Matheson? What are you doing with David Savard? What are you doing with what if Yoel Armia has a fantastic Four Nations face-off? You've got to be still plucking pieces off your roster because that's the great equalizer of this playoff run for all these teams that are in the muck. If you get in and you get to be the 8th seed, congratulations. But are you a threat?
There's a few teams I wonder about. Like if the Rangers are there, they absolutely are. And
I think
watched.
but that's a different scenario. But if you're the Canadiens, you're going, we're just happy to be here.
Jet fuel.
One was a President's Trophy winner. It's a good point.
Totally.
But you know what? When you can look around and it's, well, this Hudson looks like, I mean, this guy might be unbelievable player.
He's good.
And Cole
I'm a big
Caulfield-
believer in what Montreal's building long term.
Yeah.
I'm not this year.
Yeah, that's fair.
I watched Ottawa Boston on Saturday. That's the best game I've seen all year by a mile. It was intense. It was a war. There was scraps all over the place. Every time I looked up, Brady Tkachuk was in the penalty box again, yelling at someone. They were down too late. They pulled their goalie and tied with 12 seconds left. They win in overtime. That felt like the sends a real game for me. And I understand that that's hyperbole and that's narrative street, but like we've all been waiting and we all think this might be the year they can finally do it. They're doing all this without Olmark, and that
Yep.
was unbelievable. And sorry, I hope you saw some of that. It was incredible.
Yeah, and that's the team that I'm kind of partitioning off and saying, especially if you can get Olmark back relatively soon, I think they should run away with that 7th spot.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a fight for who gets 8th.
And so again, like if it's the Rangers and Sens as wild cards, like who thinks that's an easy out? I'm sorry. Like those teams have all kinds of skill. Those are
Yeah,
not
they
like
do.
blue collar, we got here with hard. No, these are skilled teams that can kill you with good goaltending.
So then how much really would be separating the 7th and 8th seed from the 2nd or 3rd?
Nothing.
Like,
If Allmark's back,
and if Shesterkin's on top of his game, like why not those two teams?
yeah, I mean, this is a team that won the President's Trophy last year and went to the conference final and had a chance to play for a Stanley Cup. Had they
I'll tell you, this game was
gone differently.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like it was scraps, every whistle, scrums, like that, and that fan base, not unlike Montreal, they've been
They're
patient,
beyond starved.
frustrated, and
Yeah.
and now it's finally happening. Like it was electric.
What does Boston do here? I know Neely came out was it last weake and said, "Well, we may
They s-
have to make a little pivot
Retool.
here and look at things." It's not Swayman.
Did they keep the receipts on the Lindholm
Oh.
Zadorov? Can they take those back at the return aisle at Costco, or what do we?
Tough 47 games. It could be worse. Could have been the Rangers, but now here they are, basically the same. But
Could have been the Flames.
Yeah,
Like, could have been.
at a bigger number probably too for both those cats.
that's Conroy.
Yes.
That's Conroy. So smart. Not signing as big as a signing. All that cap
Or
space.
they said no.
or he said, "Yeah,
It's
I
good
need
money.
I need
I don't know.
9.75 a year. I
Yeah.
can't do that."
Could you
Uh,
imagine? I
Yeah,
mean,
It
it's
deserves
nightmare fuel. It's
Yeah.
not just the term; it's the contract. Like all of a sudden, the Flames are a cap team this year, and what?
Yeah. No bad.
and you know what? Some might say there's already some bad money on that Flames roster.
Might
Might be
Come
hard
on.
to might be
You
hard
know?
to find. I'm not sure, but if you
it's
want
not
to,
as bad as it used to, though. The way they're playing this year,
And the way he's playing, to be
Huberdeau
fair,
is supposed
yeah.
to be that guy, but
No, he's the one deal where you're like, that's it. Like everyone else is playing to their salary, including Kadri, which it was a concern when he signed. He's been fine.
So, what is like? Give me a vibe check on the market, because every time we talk about it, I'm like, I've never seen a fan base so hungry to lose, and I'm saying to myself, this is the best case scenario this season.
No,
Well, no, hear me out though. But they
Okay.
were never going to bottom out because of those guys. They were never truly going to be the Blackhawks this year.
sure. But again, the worst case scenario is finishing 11th to 15th from the bottom, because then your
Well-
pick goes to Montreal and you're picking in the mid 20s and in the 30s with your two picks from the Devils and the Florida Panthers in a draft class that's good in the top 10 and then tapers off pretty considerably. Like, let's be honest. The worst case scenario for this team is what they're lined up to do, which is just miss the playoffs.
Well, what I'm saying, best case scenario is if they get in.
Yeah, I think if they get in, no one's concerned about the pick. That's fair to say. You would trade
But
that.
why? I would you, if you're looking at the standings right now and you're watching the Canucks, you're watching what's happening there, and you're seeing that they're almost making a move with Miller over the weekend.
Yeah. I think that's positive for Vancouver, no? That they're going to get resolution on this issue that's like absolutely hung over their heads all year.
But I can almost guarantee you their team's going to be worse.
that's the thing. I without knowing what the return would be, I would like my team on the ice better with JT Miller than without it.
100%.
They've had a team without Demko for 3 months too. Like
I think there's
they're
a 90+% chance that after making the trade that the Canucks are a worse team on the other end of it, which
What-
is
on paper, sure, but like that room's the issue. It's the paper they're fine.
But what's the room want, Ryan?
Well, and that's what we
right?
don't
Like,
know. That's probably a better.
You
question
might be
for Ryan.
trading the guy that the room. I don't.
Yeah.
Well, and the coach now all of a sudden swinging in the wind because he looks like a JT Miller guy more than an Elias Pettersson guy, and he's got what?
and the
options
coach
this
is
summer?
that's right. The coach is in the last year of his deal.
Yeah, like that might be the awkward party, but
You might see 20 teams fire their coach to get a shot at Rick Tocchet. I'm not exaggerating with that
20?
number. 20 teams.
It's a
I'm
lot
not
of-
exaggerating.
a lot of firings.
Yeah. It's
Black
a lot
Monday.
of firings.
Yeah.
too.
That's a good options for Rick then.
And only one
But
team
what
would
are
get
the
it.
Well,
Canucks? You
and-
you truly believe they're not? You're worried that even after a trade, they're going to be in worse shape?
Yes. I just don't think they're going to be like, so, okay.
I just don't. Sorry, the only reason I question that is because of teams that are disheveled in the room don't play well together.
Yeah.
Right. They don't perform to their best of their abilities when.
But why did they
Rooms.
win last year then?
I don't know.
Well, look,
Maybe it
here's the
didn't.
thing that no
Flames
one wants
got
to talk
robbed of a pick in that conditional deal with Lindholm. They could have been a third round pick instead of a fourth round pick had they just won game 7. That's how close they were to the Western Conference
or
final.
game 6, and they didn't have Demko the whole series, and they missed Besser in game 7. We get it. They were that close to beating
Pedersen,
Edmonton.
shit.
And that's why when I look at a team that hasn't had Hronek or Demko for 3 months, and people are saying, no, the Flames are going to be better than them the last half. It's like, what? Like, are those not 2 of the 5 most important players on the team? Like, I get you might have 80
But
cents on the
it's not
dollar
as
for JT
simple
Miller.
as-
They're way better with Demko and net than Shelovs and Lankinen. Let's be honest here.
Sure, but that's making some big assumptions that Demko is back to full health and that we're dealing with a totally different Thatcher Demko. For my money, you might as well take all of his stats in the past and chuck him right out the window because he's likely never going to feel the exact same way again with that injury. It's
So he's done
all
being
a
on
matter
the
of him
phone?
getting to
You're
feel
saying?
comfortable again with his new reality.
Okay, so that's Canuck talk. What are the Flames then? Because Montreal, we just talked about.
Hold on a second. But let's just replay your assertion though, which is basically like if something reeks in your trash can, you just throw it out and that's it and it's good and we're never going to have any issue again.
I would think that the reason they're approaching this is because it's leaked into the room and it's having a
Stressful.
bad influence on how things are going. And I don't
And
know.
you're
but I would
trading a
ass-
100-point player and
this year.
likely not getting anywhere near the help down the middle that
Well,
you
we
had.
don't know what's coming back, and sometimes it's not net zero. Like you're not
No, you're
moving the
right.
guy
It's not
out.
net zero, but my only point was that it's very likely that they won't be as good.
I don't know. I mean,
I'll say this from where I sit, it doesn't look like it's a one move fix.
No,
Okay,
it's a
Miller's
couple.
out,
Yeah.
and now everything's good. Demko's going to be healthy, and Hronek's, so we got great health the rest of the way,
You
and
gotta
no
replace
slumps, and
Miller.
everybody comes in.
You have to replace
It's been more than just. It's been a number of things, and yeah, some of it's been injuries, but you're not guaranteed to not have injuries down the
Right.
stretch and some tough games. I don't know. They've been right where they're at, which is in or out of a wild card
well,
for a good chunk of the season.
I'm just
here.
as curious, and I'm not. This conversation only proves out at the end of the year whether, and it's not even about being right or wrong. I don't give a shit if I don't want the Canucks to make it. But what are the Flames trying to be? Like we just talked about Montreal. There's no way Montreal they're making the playoffs here. I don't think so. Did anyone have Montreal making a big jump? There weren't many people in the Flames side of the ledger saying, "Yeah, this
the
is the
sports
playoffs
time
here."
at 81
And so then
points.
they
Yeah.
do make the playoffs, which I'm a believer in. And owners and players say, you get a chance to make the playoffs, you go for the playoffs. Doesn't matter who you're going. We got to play Vegas. Well, too bad. That's your matchup. But is that the Flames in the Flames' best interest long term? Like, and you look at the Flames team and you give them credit for what they've done, absolutely. But their scoring is horrendous. And so, are you allowing
No,
this?
I'm
team
not
to
saying you
control?
add. I think
No,
you.
okay.
I think if you're Craig Conroy, what you do is you sit back, and if you could get a lowercase addition, or if you could get the player that fits your age scheme and is going to be there for 5 years, of course you pull the trigger. If you can add that right shot center that everyone's been talking about, that's between 22 and 25 years old, of course. But I think short of that, unless there's something like, essentially free in the bargain bin that you could give your team as a little reward to say, hey, you guys have played your asses off all year. You've competed. I'm going to give you a little something to try and help. Otherwise, you are just there. You're not helping and you're not hurting. I don't think you subtract. I don't think you take away, because I think that also sends the wrong message, speaking of culture and what they've been trying to put into place here and how night and day different this team is in the room from last year. So I think you continue to try and foster that if you can. but you're not hampering, you're not helping. That's the general, just straight down the middle here.
They could upgrade on the Miramanov, Hanley playing top 4 minutes, and I don't think it would be expensive. That's kind of the tinker when you talk about that I would see making sense. Like those guys are either out of the lineup or they're playing with too much with Uyghur. Like they're either popcorn or top 4. They're not cut out for that. Those guys are 6-7s all day. They could use one more.
We've known that since camp. That's the problem is we've watched that and said, oh yeah, no good.
Now I just saw, and I don't know he to extend a fight because we can move on. But I saw your grimace when Frank suggested getting somebody in that 23.
Well, it's just everyone says it, but like, are they actually going to move first to get guys? Like, what are we talking about here? These are not cheap assets. But just find 23-year-old right shot centers. Like,
I think you would. I think they would move first. Unequivocally, would move first to do it.
And that's where the grimace comes in.
Why? How do you know what the first is going to be? We just talked about how shoddy the draft class is.
If you're finding a 20-whatever-year-old right shot centerman, it's a distressed asset and it has risk too.
What if it's okay?
Like so if they're good players, they're not traded. Like no one gives away great young centers.
Well, let's talk. So like, what if it's what if we're talking about Dylan Cousins? Let me preface that by saying I don't think the Flames have what it takes to interest Buffalo. I think they're poor trade partners, but let's just take that profile of player.
Yeah. So again, like it's going to be a first plus for Cousins. Like that's a huge spend for a team.
You're not doing it
1 year into a rebuild. Like they literally started tearing down a year ago with Lindholm, Hanifin, Tanev.
They're
like
never going to be drafting in a position to get the guys that are true difference makers.
No, I disagree. If they're not getting elite goaltending, they're absolutely a top 8 pick and a lottery win away from stars.
But doesn't the way Wolf is playing this year actually change the timeline in the other direction?
It's been awesome, but again, like it's goaltending. So I love the kid. I love the development trajectory. I think he's going to be a number 1 in this league. I think he's proving to be an elite goaltender, but even great goaltenders have bad years. Like it's just, I could see this team thinking they're good and making the mistake of like adding the summer. And then all of a sudden he has like a 905 season that isn't elite and it's fine. And he'll get back to being a star again. And they're like, geez, we're really not close at all. Like this is all just goaltending here. I really believe if it's not Wolf here, this is one of the worst 8 to 10 rosters in the league.
Would you say that
you're at all pushback from me?
That you're at all guilty of putting too much in the draft?
No,
I think you are. I think
I think he's totally guilty.
Talk about distressed assets and that you make out as though like yes, lottery tickets and all that and getting stars. It's not like they've been without. I mean, they have Matt Coronado and Connor Zary. These are all good players.
Those are
they're not
players.
But they're not stars, right?
They don't have top line guys.
They're not difference makers. No. They're not drivers.
Good players. I like them, but they don't have a star. They don't have game breakers.
Yeah.
Like you need.
Well, what if Dylan Cousins is? I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying, what if that type of profile? Those are the only guys that are likely available, right?
Yeah.
Guys that showed it at age 21 to hit 31 goals and 68 points as a 21-year-old. Okay, so is he closer to that or is he closer to the 20-goal, 45, 50-point guy?
Yeah, like honestly.
Either way, if I'm the Flames, I'm trying to find out. I'm going, hey, I want to know. I'd rather answer that question for myself as opposed to taking a guy at 17th overall and hoping, wishing, praying that he's the next Scott Lawton.
Right, but what's it cost? Like, of course, you love the idea of Dylan Cousins, but all of a sudden someone says it's Basha and a first and a player. You're like, shit, that's really expensive for a guy that might just be a middle 6 player. No?
I'm still doing it.
Yeah, and again, I don't know, like, I've heard a lot of great things about Cousins. I don't know where he's at. I don't see Buffalo almost ever.
And we
if he's good, why are the Sabres even moving him? Like, what's happening there? Please tell us. Are they that dysfunctional? Like, is this Eichel all over again? Or is it Jesse Puljujarvi where it's like, yeah, we drafted him 4. We really like, oh, he's actually not a thing.
But wouldn't you want to find out? That's my only question.
First plus, if he's going to be on waivers in 3 years, like for
Eichel, Reinhardt.
I don't think he's those guys. But yeah.
I think Dylan Cousins would be a great fit in Calgary. But I don't know if they can get him. And I think that what happens here, and it happens, I say it every spring or every fall, there's just this so much talk about your own players and the buy-in, and then they go to camp and they got to play against the other top players from other organizations. You're like, well, maybe they're not that effing good. Like Basha you're in love with the guy. And
I
that's
like the player. Yeah.
that's great.
I think he's
He's
good-
never
pretty good
played,
also.
and you don't know what he's going to be. And he could turn out to be great. The only point I'm trying to make is that there's a little too much love for what we know as Flames. Sam Honzik, again, is back. Like, who is he? He's our first rounder. Would you give Cousins for Honzik?
They would laugh at you and ask for that plus.
But
you know
that's
what?
the point. But
But you
the
would-
point is you're getting that kind of pick, but you don't want Cousins because you're what's the word I'm looking for? Fearful of giving away a pick. And it's not even the right term, but
I just
you
don't
know what
think
I
Honzik
mean?
was a
you're
sound
putting so
pick.
much.
That's all.
Well,
Like, he might be.
But
Fine.
you're way more likely if
Went
you're the
off.
Flames and the range that they're going to be picking in to get a Mark Jankowski than you are.
Come on, like if they pick, if they pick
how many
10th,
good
you think
picks
you're
have they
take-
had?
Like
Well,
what?
you don't like Perrick at 9? Like,
But what
that's
if-
a
but what if-
legit, their best chance at a star is the guy that took at 9.
And he's a
last
guy
year.
that's never played and might never like.
Well, yeah.
But
if
how
it's
many
all-
times are they going to be picking higher than 9 over the next 5 years?
Well, it depends. I mean,
But that's my point.
If
where
you trade Rasmus Anderson,
It's
a
going
lot.
the other direction with Wolf. You're
What's
you're
Wolf?
trending more towards 15, 17, 18 than you are to 9.
Yeah,
That's
no,
this is the
if-
whole point I'm
if
trying
you
to make.
keep everyone and extend Rasmus, I agree. But it kind of doesn't really line up with their young guys. And I'm not here to say that every draft pick makes it, but there is a large quantity of 18 and 19-year-olds in their system, and many of them will be very good NHLers. The time to like supplement, like I look at Ottawa, and it's like, yeah, they had all this young talent. It's going to happen at some point.
they didn't.
They went
have-
too early on DeBrincat. They went too early on Chikrin. It was just
no,
like,
they
you
went
need to
on
be
the wrong
patient.
guy. They didn't have a goaltender. They thought they had goaltenders. Who was the guy from stupid Pittsburgh they signed
Matt Murray.
for big money, and he wasn't the guy. And most people knew he wasn't the guy. This Wolf has come in. You're in love with them.
Wolf changes
He
everything.
changes everything. Yet you still, and you have this. I know what you want. You want all the kids coming through together at the same time, and that might not be their team, right? Like it might be a mixed bag of 35 and 22. Like you might not have 8 or 9 or 10 kids in the 25, right? 22 to 27.
What
Like
this
it
fan
doesn't
base
always work out that
what
way.
this fan base wants is to get out of what we've seen for basically a quarter century, which
Then you
is
sell
very
up-
mucky middle. And you're honestly, when's Wolf's prime? Give me his age, because I'll tell you how old your best players are at that point.
It's starting right now.
Yeah, and so now it's like, okay, well, if he's good, we got to re-sign Rasmus. He'll turn 30 the first month of probably an
It
8-year
doesn't mean
deal.
that. It doesn't mean
Christ,
that
you're
necessarily.
saying that.
Well, look, I think,
But it does
like,
change things. You now have a goalie that you feel really good about.
It's great. to
I
have.
would think that it
All that
has to
means is you are
change.
drafting further away from where you really want to be. So now you need to readjust your expectations. Because
agree.
instead of having a chance to get a top 6 player, you're likely looking at middle 6 or bottom 6.
Yeah, you're looking at New Jersey and Florida's picks in the late 20s and 30s. That's what you're looking at. Those are like easy to swing and miss and not have a player type guys.
So that's what I was going to say in there is
Yeah.
if it's 17, 18, 20 as the first plus for a player like that, like you say, they have a lot of drafted players. Take a swing on Dylan Cousins with one of those picks and some. I don't know.
That's not going to interest Buffalo. You're going to have to
Buffalo doesn't want
unload
big
something
targets.
off your roster. They're not. I'm just. I only brought the name up as a ideal fit.
Yeah, he'd be a good fit here.
He would be a good.
So what's Buffalo looking for?
Something
again-
that's going to help them win right now. They're not trying to. They don't need first round picks. They've had first round picks out the ass.
Exactly. So then make the fit for Calgary, because it's easy to say trade 28. They don't want 28.
He said a name that was ideal for the Flames to go after. As far as why wouldn't you? You can't.
I can.
No,
I
I'm
said.
just
I
curious.
prefaced it and said I cannot make the Flames and Sabres trade partners. They're illogical trade partners.
And so then we're back to the empty aisle of right shot centers from 20 to 25. Like,
Which highlights my point. How do you find difference makers? That's the
Gotcha.
biggest challenge the Flames are facing. And all I'm saying is with Wolf, it's getting further away from that than closer.
Saying the draft is a cop out though, because everyone, almost not everyone. How many? I'm gonna.
Everyone gets draft picks every year, and there's a bunch of
and
bad
most
teams that pick
yeah,
high.
and
and-
most impact players were drafted. Johnny Gaudreau was drafted in the 4th round, right? Like the most impact guys are drafted, unless maybe they're playing over in Russia and they slide through the cracks and they come over as a 24-year-old, right? So to say the draft is just an easy
I just specifically think about centermen. That's all. Like they just
So,
don't have any.
Do you want to play the numbers game? Like, so Pinder, because you love the draft so much, of NHL rosters, if you're talking just core players, so I'm talking your top 6 forwards, your top 4D, and your goalie.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to guess how many on any given team were actually drafted by that team?
I don't really understand the exercise. Like, are we talking about moving players? Or
No,
like,
I'm talking about how do you assemble a team that, I'm not saying
Florida.
a team that competes. I'm saying how do you assemble a team, any team in the NHL, all 32 teams. This is what the numbers are. So your top 6 forwards, your top 4D, and your goalie. How many of those were drafted by the team they play on? Just give me a number.
25%.
18%.
Yeah, like, and
you have to trade.
You're saying that the only way teams get good is by keeping draft picks and drafting.
I didn't
And
say
he
that
said
at
that like
I'm
80.
saying you have
what
to
I'm
trade.
saying
Look at the
is-
Florida Panthers. Look at any team. You have 50+% of your roster is acquired via trade.
What you're saying is good players are drafted high. That's true.
Yeah.
But there's different ways.
I'm saying the Flames are not capable of drafting high. We've established this as fact. They will not bottom out.
And when they did, they took Sam Bennett, who was a center, and it didn't work out.
and he's fine. But again, they also had.
But it didn't work out for the
They
Flames.
also had Kachuk, and you also had Monahan. Like, you've done well at the top of the draft.
But again,
they don't have centers. Show me how they get a center. Everyone can talk about, go get this guy, go get that guy. These are the deals you can't make. They're the hardest deals to make. Go get a young center. Sounds great. It's what Connie said at his opening press conference. We're a year and a half in. They're no closer to getting a young center.
okay.
You have to get those guys in the draft. Like, I get the whole, like, players move. It's not easy. There's no
you've also
guarantees.
said
But, like,
don't
look
But you
do
make
the
it sound
deal.
so simple. Just trade all your
No,
good
it's not
players, be
simple.
bad, and welcome McDavid and McKinnon.
No, but what I would
But
say.
you do. You do. Every time
No,
we
you're-
have this
you're sim-
conversation,
You're simplifying what I'm trying to say.
They got to get stars. When the building's this and when Wolf is that, and you have star. If
Well,
it were
I mean,
only that easy.
Do you want a cup? Do you want to win a cup if you're Murray Edwards, or do you want to just get playoff revenue? That's the question.
So what should they do? Stop playing Wolf?
No, you keep playing Wolf. Wolf's great. That's unbelievable.
So then whose fault is it if they
There's no fault, Dean. It's just you got to be smart. Like, don't extend Rasmus when he turns 30, the first year of an 8-year deal.
Why does
That would be smart.
I don't understand these conversations, Frank.
Like
I get
that- like-
confused because everyone else in the world wants Rasmus Anderson.
I like Rasmus.
what an asset to have. And
yeah, I'm
this,
not trading him.
well, I know, but now you're saying, and then just now he's no good.
Well, he doesn't match their window. That's all. Like,
You don't know what their window is. You keep talking about this window, and you've got it all mapped out in your
okay,
head.
so how
but
much
it
team
ain't gonna
control do
work.
they have on Wolf? Like, if you ink Wolf to an 8-year deal, that's their window.
Okay, so why is Rasmus Anderson as a 31-year-old not going to be part of that window?
He's just they already have a very reasonable facsimile of him in Uyghur, and
So you
you're
think
already
you're just
starting
going
to
to win
see
with
a little bit of tail off in his underlying metrics. And I just think the better, like, tactical move would be, here's a guy making $4.5 million that's probably going to get 9 on the open
Okay.
market when the
I'll
cap
just-
jumps to 110. Like, go get some assets for him.
just
all
have
right,
to-
Dylan
just-
Cousins.
Sure.
So that's
I'm
one.
okay with
That's
that.
one player, right? But as far
Yeah.
as their window to win,
Yeah.
take Rasmus out of it.
Mhm.
What if Wolf starts? He's going to be top 10 in save percentage and goals against moving forward.
He
Well,
might finish. He might get Vezina votes this year. I'm
Like,
not
what if
exaggerating.
that's what you're dealing with now? He's not a kid.
No,
He's
I
in his
agree.
early 20s.
It's
So
the
what- how-
greatest thing that's happened all year.
So are you
for the
going to take
franchise, for sure.
4 years of the start of his career and say, "Sorry, kid, we need to"?
We
It
need
can't
to
be
roll the
that
dice.
easy.
kind of
Oh,
already did that. They've suppressed him as long as they possibly could and,
Oh,
and
sure.
handled him with kid
Yeah.
gloves.
For sure.
Mhm. Yeah, the bubble wrap's finally off. He's actually starting more
Yeah.
than every other game now, despite having better numbers all year.
I
than the
just,
other guy.
you've heard me. Like I've been saying it for years. I want the same approach. Yeah, I want top 5 picks that you can count on, or top 10, and you're like, yeah, we're going to build. The problem that you see in front of you, though, is that it ain't happening, and they aren't going to get there. So you might have to change your tact. I keep using it as an example, and they went a little bit off the board. And Sam Honzek played really well, started the season in Calgary, gave him, you don't hear his name. He was that big centerman, was he not? Like,
No, he's drafted.
but okay, so even if he wasn't, he was their high pick. He was our first rounder that we can't trade away the pick. We can't trade away first rounders.
He's never been the top prospect in the organization. It was always Wolf.
But
and
even going into that draft,
This
you would
is
have
what
said you
end up
you
with.
can't trade this pick.
Yeah, I agree. I think they could have done better with the pick. Like Gabe Perreault sitting right there.
Okay,
set the
so-
US NDP
But they
scoring
didn't.
records, but
So
No.
again, Crystal, like looking back,
It's
yeah, that's how
easy,
it should
yeah.
have gone. But you don't have that
he might be
luxury.
fine. Yeah, he's a middle six player.
But just in general,
But the point
draft
more we're
philosophy.
making to you is that the draft
So
is
what pick was that?
15.
Yeah, exactly my point. If you're going to pick there, you're not going to get stars.
But you're set.
But
You're-
you're not the roster that
can't-
Craig
I-
Conroy was handed. They're not capable of getting.
I don't know that that's
lower.
true for me. I really don't.
You
Like,
just saw Wolf
like, if-
beat
if
Winnipeg
you-
by himself. Those are the points that
Unless-
keep you from a top 5 pick.
Unless you're buying out Huberdeau and moving Kadri and trading Anderson and cutting off Dustin Wolf's right leg. I'm sorry. I don't see them picking top 5. I don't.
did
and
you
I
see
think they've
Nashville
come to
picking
that
top 5
really-
with Easy Saros this year? Like it
Well,
happened.
If
It
you
just does.
if you
I'm
want to,
sorry.
yeah, it could happen. Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's your plan? Is
No,
to have
no. I'm not saying it's a plan. I'm just saying that even great goalies have years where their teams are bad. Like, I'm sorry, Carey Price had teams.
You don't have to say sorry. I still don't understand the point you're making towards the conversation.
My point is that when you're getting 950 goaltending, don't start thinking your team's good. It's a goalie. And he's going to come back.
They're
to
not thinking their
playing
team. I
950.
don't think they're under any
sorry.
disillusion. I don't think
But if
they're sitting here
Demko
going,
comes
"Hey,
back-
we're better than we thought." I think they're saying this is kind of exactly the realm, the world. Like if you were to draw a circle on the NHL standings board before the season started and it said, "Will the Flames finish in this circle?" Like it's within the realm of possibility. Yes.
That they
Better than I would have expected. Little on the high end
Oh,
of
hell
the
yeah.
Higher end of it, but still,
Yeah.
if you were to say like, "Hey, we got to hope and pray and wish that our pets' heads fall off like the Nashville Predators this season, and we then somehow luck into it," that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, I'm not out here campaigning for the team to try to lose. I'm not. I just think that there's decisions coming forward that are going to be very telling about their approach, how far
Because they
gonna
have
step
to
back.
now, because they're now at the point where they're realizing exactly what I'm saying. As uncomfortable as it may be, we are in this spot. We have these pieces that are immovable objects, and therefore we have to adjust our approach, because as much as we would like to do scorched earth and have a full-scale rebuild potentially and get these top players, these star players, we are not capable.
I
For
agree
better or
with
for
you.
worse.
I was all in on the scorched earth policy for last year and even the start of this year. I'm like, they got to throw it out the window. They can't. And I think Wolf has answered those questions.
He's
lot of people-
underlined them. He's put an exclamation point at the end of it, which is
And so if you have that goal, and if you talk about Parekh, our first round,
Mhm.
he has to play with someone. Like Uyghur and he needs to learn and play, even if he's going to be a star. He's got to have someone beside him, right? You can't him and Hanley
No.
ain't gonna work,
Yeah,
right?
no, I
So if
agree.
you're bringing him along, and this, like I've said, Anderson, sure, and all of this goes back to we don't know what the f you have to give up to get someone, and what's coming back. We can talk in the general idea, but you don't know exactly. And if Dylan Cousins is available, the Flames should be in the conversation to try and get him. If it means giving up the Wolf, probably not, right? Like. Yeah, I know you're
No, I'm
giggling,
with
but
you.
that
You
is the
can't- that's-
point
that's
of
your
all.
only untouchable at this point.
All these trades are sure. If it makes sense, you do it. If
Right.
Rasmus
And it's not-
Anderson-
just to put a bow on it. It's not to speed up the process, because that's the point, Pinder, that you've kept making, which is, oh, the timeline's going to speed up. That part I don't think is changing. It's just if you cannot bottom out, which again I think we've highlighted, they can't. Then what can we do in the meantime to push this along?
That's the thing. I think what it does is it eliminates the scorched earth we're going to finish dead last, top two, three.
No,
Like,
that's for sure.
it's
off the
just,
table. It's just that this summer they're going to have to. I keep bringing up Rasmus, and I feel like people are like, "Why do you hate Rasmus?" I love Rasmus. I think he's a great player.
Hey, I wanted.
I think there's 6 teams in playoff spots that. Fuck, there's probably 16 teams in playoff spots when you get there that are like, that would be a guy that's an upgrade on our right side second pair. And it's just like, we don't know what could it be, but like, that is the decision for me. That's going to be.
What do all those teams have in common, Pinder? All those teams are picking in the dead nuts late end of the first round.
Mm-hmm.
How's that helping the Flames?
Well, I didn't say anything about a return. I just think you'd get a lot of assets for him.
Assets that are what? Second rate?
I don't know. If you're Dallas, would you give up Maverick Bork and some other assets for him? Like,
probably not.
Really?
They only got a second for Tanev.
Yeah, and he didn't have 2 years of control, and like is not the value that. I'm sorry, like Anderson's a more valuable asset.
Yes, thank you. But the point is, if let's say you're getting the first. Where's Dallas finishing in the standings? They're trading Rasmus Andersson is not going to get you any closer to the star, is my point. If that's the mission, like truly what the mission is, then you have to be dead focused, blinders on. This is our mission, is to get star players. Getting the 24th overall pick from the Dallas Stars doesn't get you any closer. You might as well find a way to try and keep
what
Anderson.
You're missing is that their own pick would suddenly, I think, be a top 8 pick if they trade Rasmus. When Kevin Ball's your second best defenseman and your third is Jake Bean, you're not going to be out of the bottom 10. You aren't.
Okay, so then you want to walk in there and tell them this year?
No, I don't think it's an easy decision.
Like,
I don't think they'll do it. I don't think it's easy, but
what's that going to say to the rest of your team?
Totally.
Get
I
me
get
the
it.
F out of here.
Yeah. And that's the first domino. And now
here?
it's like Blake Coleman's like, why am I here? And Nazem Kadri says, why am I here? I get it. Like, I'm not
you
saying
end up with the exact situation you had last year, which they worked so hard to get out of, which is 5 guys immediately raise their hand and say, I want out.
See, and this is not like it's Blue Monday, right, Dean?
Yeah, we feel blue today.
Yeah. So, like, just to make sure, you said put a bow on it. The problem with all of this in any scenario. So if Wolf's good, we'll keep Anderson. We're going, we got to get into playoffs, and this is where we're going to clump up for the next few years. They're going to get shit kicked in the playoffs.
If they get in.
They don't have the high-end talent to compete in the playoffs. Wolf has to win them the series. They don't have the players, I don't think, that can elevate their game come playoff time to match the teams they're going to be going up again.
Their top 2 centers are 34 and 35. Next year, they'll be 35 and 36. The year after that, they're 36 and 37. Like, this team will not be a legit contender until they find a stud center that's young.
Come on, Conroy, do your job. We've just figured it all out.
Are falling off.
that's right.
I just love how we got to a point where Pinder just was like, well, next year they're going to be 35 and 36. And the year after they're going to be 36 and 37. Like
they have no young centers, Frank.
Works?
Like Zeri's been unreal that he could play center, but they don't have centers in the organization. They don't.
Okay.
Accurate though, Frank.
Accurate and impressive.
That's right. Appreciate you, pal. Have a good week. Go Birds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.